Go.
Hey guys, so we're back.
Hey.
Sorry for the little interruption, but we're just gonna pick up right where we left off.
And we're going to talk about Transformers and the G.I. Joe.
Transformers.
Actually, no, wait, I'm sorry. G.I. Joe writers are going to take over the Transformers script.
Yes, from my understanding, from what I read, it's the new world that they're trying to bring the Transformers in with the revamping of Bumblebee. I believe the Bumblebee film is going to come out, which is going to be a standalone. That's where they're going to start the revamp of the Transformers story.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, Michael Bay is not going to be attached as the director, so that's something hopeful to look forward to. There was a lot of talk before that it might be a combination of the G.I. Joe world with the new Transformers. From what I read, it's the writers of the G.I. Joe world that are coming in to the Transformers world. So I know earlier we did talk a little bit about G.I. Joe. Do you think that if it is something that they do combine, do you think they'll combine it with the G.I. Joes that we had a few years ago? Or do you think that it'd be better if they did something new with that?
I mean, yeah, you might as well just do something new because the first one critically bombed really bad. The second one was decent. The Rock was in it. Bruce Willis was half-assing, like he does for the last 10 years, but whatever. So I think they should just start anew.
Wait, what? He was in it?
Thank you.
Exactly. I would not remember that at all.
Yeah. He's actually the original Joe in the movie.
Oh, okay.
He's the reason that, I guess, section of the military or whatever you want to call it is called G.I. Joe because he is Joe. He is who
he was playing that character of Joe. Oh,
and it's
that's interesting. That went over my head, or else I just don't remember.
Yeah. So, no.
But I did like G.I. Joe 1.
I did. I
didn't think it was bad, but if they're just gonna start something anew, it just makes sense. Just also because the G.I. Joe storyline that they had was so many years ago. It's not something that they did keep up and keep current. But I guess that's why it makes sense to bring on the writers because some people didn't like it because of the aesthetics of it, but I did. I did like the writing. I did like the acting. I did think it had its funny moments, but it made sense in the scope of things. Like any movie, when they try to salvage it, they bring in The Rock for part 2. So I guess it's just a wait and see. If they do keep him, I'm sure they'll keep only certain actors.
Right. I mean, if they bring him, I think it's just do away with it.
Just redo it completely.
Did you guys see the last one? Was it last night?
No. I've stopped watching Transformers. I've stopped watching.
I stopped watching it after Shia LaBeouf. That's it.
Yes.
I watched Mark Wahlberg one. It was terrible.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
It was garbage. I did like that they brought the Dinobots in.
Yeah, I mean that's why I wanted to watch it, and I was like,
yeah, you didn't
no, I just watched the trailer. It's fine.
No, you didn't miss anything.
I feel like where Pacific Rim excelled at is where Transformers started to fall short at. With how they were portraying the robots and it was just too much CGI and Michael Bay was just trying to make it beautiful with the girls. And it was just taken away so much from when they originally came out, the excitement of that. So I'm glad. I'm glad that it's going in a new direction. I always did love Transformers. It sucked after a while, to feel like another one's coming out. So hopefully this revamp, once Bumblebee comes out.
Is it 6 or 5 right now?
I think it's 6.
Because how many? It was 3 with Shia LaBeouf.
And then 2 with Mark Wahlberg, which I don't know why. That was a terrible idea.
2 with Mark. So there's only 5, man.
2 with Mark. That's 3 with Shia LaBeouf.
2 with Mark Wahlberg.
Now it's 6.
Where's the 6th one?
Okay,
but that's it's a spin-off.
All right, so 5 with the rest.
Well, the spin-off is gonna be what
in the 90s.
What leads itself to the new revamping of Transformers. But talking about Bruce Willis and how we didn't even know he was in G.I. Joe. Die Hard 6.
Damn,
what is that about?
That was good. I like her.
I should do a sliding segue. Yeah. So
prequel sequel. You said right?
Yeah.
From what I read, prequel sequel.
Yes.
The big thing that they're looking into now is really finding a good person to play a younger version of Bruce Willis's character.
That's gonna be hard.
I think it's gonna be hard. Unless I can't think of anybody in our current pool of actors that
can play a young Bruce Willis.
And I also feel like the But it's also like the idea of if they're looking so hard into a good young Bruce Willis is because they want to open that up as a way to make more diehard films, but of a younger generation. You know what I mean? And I feel like if that's the case, then they might want to go with somebody new. Like, because whatever actors we have now, they're all tied up in a whole bunch of other stuff. So, I think having that fresh face, somebody who can do it, and be able to continue to make it grow is going to be interesting.
I think they should have, like when I saw, what was it, the fourth one, Live Free and Die Hard?
Yeah.
That
was good.
Yeah, it was good, but it was definitely, it started getting hyper realistic with the action and stuff like that, which, all right, whatever. But I was like, all right, this guy's obviously old. Give it to his daughter. I immediately was like, she was great in the movie. She was only in the movie, screen time, 10, 15 minutes tops. I was like, let her be the next, John McClane. She doesn't have to be a cop. She has to be a person that's always in the middle of a shitty situation, and she, rises up and saves the day. Because that's who John McClane is. Now he's a guy with he has the little breather tank, and shooting bad guys still.
I think the problem is people are all about the nostalgia of things, and they're just feeding into that a little too much nowadays. And I think they're feeding into the egos of these actors, into that nowadays too. And it's what's causing all of these, hyped up excitement for these new films to come out, because it's like, oh, I remember when I was younger, it was so good. And it's kind of like, well, what's a way to revamp it? So it's like, I feel like some people are getting the right formula. So
Blade Runner.
Yeah. And then some people just are falling short. And I think I like that at least they're talking about it and it's not something that's fully fleshed out or rushed, because from when Bruce Willis spoke of it last, he's like, we're heading to LA to see what the script is looking like, to see where we can go from here. Nothing is set in stone just yet. So I don't know. It's just so tricky when you get into that point of do I really care to watch this film? Is it gonna be the new Christmas movie? So it's like falling into that area of how are they gonna make this new and interesting for the people of now? How are they gonna still keep this fresh? How are they gonna still tie it to the people who want it because of the nostalgia of it? So it's multiple levels now. It's not just
No, I never saw any of them.
Jesus.
I never got around. Nope, never got. I was lying when I said I saw the fourth one. I just went with it.
I know, because I was like, this guy hasn't agreed.
And that's the other thing. I saw Die Hard, but it's not a film that I could remember anything about, because it's been so long ago.
One?
It's not any of them, I could honestly say I don't remember, because it's been so long ago. I know I've seen them, but it's kind of do I care enough as a person who has seen those movies for it to be a remake, a revamp? When are we gonna start getting just
fresh ideas?
There's so many great writers out there with all these fresh ideas that it's kind of all right, let's start moving away from the same thing over and over.
So when I saw the fourth one with his daughter was kidnapped, I was like, okay, then I see it naturally going to someone else. She's already there. She's the daughter, so you could keep the same name and go forward. No, the next movie they brought in the son. Did you see that one with the son in Russia? It was so bad.
But I remember it coming out with something. It was kind of but the idea is they still wanted to keep Bruce Willis as the central focus.
Yeah, they still wanted to keep him, and then the daughter, which was a standoff,
she was just thrown away.
Yep, she passes him off to the airport. Oh, you're gonna go pick up our brother? Okay. And then anytime he's trouble, wink, and leaves, and then the brother, who's I don't personally think he's a good actor, but
I don't know, man. I think those movies don't really speak to me. That's why I never watched them.
Wow.
I don't know, man. I
feel The Notebook?
They're what? All right, moving on.
Notebook is bad.
It was actually not a bad movie. I would never watch it again.
It's one of those one-off movies.
Yeah. You watch it once, and you're like, oh wow, it's pretty good. And then you just let it go. So Die Hard, I don't know. For me, I wouldn't go to the movie theaters to see any of those. I'd be like, oh look, it's on Netflix. I'll watch it.
So you
I'm that serious.
So you haven't seen any Die Hard movie,
or Lethal Weapon to make
or Lethal or Mission Impossible, but you've seen.
You haven't seen any of the Mission Impossible?
Thank you.
No.
But you've seen The Notebook.
I got forced to watch that. What's my choice?
Well, going back to that, it's that idea of like of all those of all these like action-packed films. Like
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like these are great,
wow.
but it's like, what does it bring to the table now? Because they are great movies. They were great movies back in the day. It's kind of that idea of what they did with RoboCop.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
wow.
You remember the RoboCop films as being like these great movies or whatever, and then like this new one comes out, and you're like, oh, it's shitty. But it's like, but did you go back and watch the original? It wasn't that great. Like you know, it's like we're living off that nostalgia of like, oh man, I remember it was so good, blah blah blah, and then it's kind of like, how about you sit back and watch it real quick? Yeah. Like, you know, because
we could watch that more.
Well, the first one. The first one was good.
The first, the first and third.
You get disrespected when you're a kid, though. When you're younger, because
what?
Disrespected when you're a kid when you watch a movie. So I watched Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I thought it was a great freaking movie. I watched that shit again, and I was like, wow, this is garbage. This is terrible.
You were a dumb kid.
Listen, all I was there for was the ninjas, and that was it. Was bad.
That was terrible. I saw the first one in theaters.
I was like, whoa, what was that on?
I saw the first Mortal Kombat in theaters, and I was like, this was a good movie. It was
cheesy.
It was cheesy.
It was cheesy.
You know, but for what it was.
That I still watched.
Those were all the movies in the early 90s. They were all
cheesy.
They were all cheesy. But it's like we used to love that cheese. You can't lie
you
and
know
say you ain't love that cheese. But the problem is we've evolved into these people who expect so much more. Like, you know,
like a story.
That we want
like
the story.
Like a real story.
You want the storyline. You want the acting to be
You want to get into the character.
You want to visually feel like you're transformed. Like, you know, where back in the day we didn't need that much. But because we have so much things being thrown at us, it's kind of like, oh, this isn't enough. This isn't enough. Like, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes going back to that simpler time, people are enjoying that a lot more now. You know? So I don't know.
I feel like that hard to just die where it is. That's it.
I mean, I feel so too.
Yeah, because it's like one of those things that they keep beating, like the Alien vs Predator or Alien. Yeah, they won't. It was a good movie back then. That's it.
Or like the Fast and the Furious. Like even as good as the Fast and Furious movies are, it's like you look at the last one and then you look at the first one and you're like, how is this the same franchise?
No, it's
you
not.
Know what I mean?
Before it was about cars, and now it's about decrypting planes and cyber.
Yeah, and like attacks. Now they're like, you know.
James Bond.
Yeah, like, you know, where they're figuring like how to figure stuff out. It's like, oh, we gotta beat this mission. It's like none of you guys are affiliated with like anything. Like, you know, you guys were just a whole bunch of guys who just used to say
I stopped after I didn't see the last one. I stopped after Paul Walker left or passed away. But I was because I saw the trailer for the new one, and I was like, wait, so how is Dominic Toretto able to like outfight all of you, plus like different government agencies? Like, are you Dominic Toretto, or are you the Triple X character that you played a few months prior?
Exactly. Like, so I feel like at a certain point, you know, movie execs need to figure out and say, we need to sever this. Let's trick our audience into thinking we're making something new. Just give it a new name. You know, people are still going to watch it because obviously there's something about that style of filmmaking that people do like. But after a while, like when it's like, all right, now we're seeing 12, Die Hard 12. It's kind of like, all right, like, come on. Just give me something new to want to see. Don't give me the same stuff that you think I want to see.
I feel like it's just laziness on their part. Because
it's laziness and feeding the ego of these actors who have been a part of it for so long that they just want to stay a part of it.
You could take 80 million and or even 60, because what did they make Deadpool with? 60?
Yeah.
It was like between 60 and 80. I know it was definitely way under 100. Yeah. You could take 60 or 80 million dollars, put it towards an action movie or whatever kind of movie you want. That's well written, well acted. You know, the choreography is great. Everything across the board. And obviously, you know you're going to intake less money because it's not associated to no current franchise that's been out before. But if it's well received, well done, then you can make a sequel.
Well, I think, you know, that kind of lends itself to the new Star Wars movie that's coming out, Solo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like we have the new Star Wars movie that's gonna come out. It's Solo, and it's like you recognize maybe 3 of the characters, but everything is completely new. Like, you know, and I think that's refreshing. Like, I'm excited to see that movie come out because it's like I'm excited because I feel like
I love Star Wars.
It's opening us up to something completely different. Hopefully. Because it's like we already know all of these characters. We know how they died or whatever. But it's like now we're meeting the character as a younger person, as a rebellious person that we know him to be. But how did he become that? Who are the people around him? And I like that I'm not gonna see the, you know, as much as I love Princess Leia, but it's like it's not about that. It's not leading itself to that. It's kind of like, all right,
the Skywalker saga.
Now it's this. Yeah. So it's kind of like the Solo movie stands on its own. And it's possibly something that could go somewhere else. Like, you know, so it's kind of like if Die Hard does that, then I understand. But if it's gonna be where Bruce Willis is still there, then you're not giving it a chance to go somewhere else.
Yeah, become something new.
To build, to become something else, to grow another arm. Like, you know, and I feel like Star Wars is giving that chance, you know? And it's giving the audience something to learn about. Because it's like, as much as people say, oh, we love Star Wars, oh, damn it, I wish they didn't do it like this, I wish they didn't do it like this. And it's kind of like, well, here's something that you do love, that we know you love, because we know you love these characters, but here's something completely different of it. We're giving you top 3 characters that you guys know, but we're giving you something fresh with it, a new world of it, you know, where it's not tied into all this mess that has been growing through the years.
You have a way better outlook on Solo than
that's how. Well, I've never been a huge like Star Wars fan. Like, you know, like I could honestly say within the last like 5 to 7 years is when I started watching all of the films. You know, so for me, Star Wars is very fresh. It's not something that I grew up watching. It wasn't something that I saw with my mom and dad when I was younger. And I feel like a lot of the fans are those type of fans. And now what we're getting is a lot of fans like me who are coming into it with fresh eyes.
So
who are excited to see like the expansion of it.
Did you like 1, 2, 3?
Did I like 1, 2, 3? I didn't think anything bad of it. Like, you know, like I definitely saw racial stuff that was going on and like how, you know, certain characters were made to represent, you know, certain cultures. And I think that was kind of like the sticky part of it. But I didn't think it was bad. I think, you know, I think it was also during the era when we were learning how to play with CGI. And I think that's, you know, what really took us out of it. And I think the storyline that George Lucas was pushing wasn't something that people really cared about. And I think it also came down to the relationship between the actors. You know, it's a big deal.
There was none.
Exactly. You know, and like that was supposed to be one of the biggest love stories that blew up literally this whole universe. Like, you know what I mean? And when you don't see that connection, it kind of takes you away when you feel like actors, and it sucks because maybe it wasn't the actors, maybe it was the direction that they were given. It could be a plethora of things.
I heard
but it sucks. But it sucks when you feel like some people don't have that chemistry, or because I didn't feel like that they weren't trying. I just felt like they just didn't have the chemistry to be believable, to really feel like they were in love, or, you know, or I felt like it was something very rushed. You know, I felt like, what is the story that you're trying to tell me? Are you trying to tell me a love story? Or are you trying to tell me an expansion of this world? And I think that's where it fell apart, you know, because it wasn't clear cut. And also because a lot of people were expecting, and I think that's a problem, the expectations that people have, you know, is a lot of the time what's the downfall. You know, because it's not, you can't just say, oh, it was the actors or it was the directors. It was multiple things. I don't think it's bad. Am I watching it tomorrow? No. Like, you know what I mean? But I think it did partially what it needed to do, was tell the story so you could understand
how we got
there. I think it could have been done a lot better. I think it could have been executed a lot better. But it goes back to, you know, George Lucas wanted it told a certain way. and he wasn't taking no for an answer. And he wanted to direct it, and he wanted to write it, and he wanted to be everything on it. And sometimes on a film set, you have to learn how to delegate. And I don't think he was delegating properly for those 3 films. It was his passion project, and it fell apart because he took on too much.
Yeah,
that was my viewpoint of it. And I think I do love the area that Star Wars is going through now. Like, you know, I did love the last 2 or the last 3. Like, you know, I think they were done well. I know a lot of people still feel like, oh, it's BS. It's like the last one that just came out was great. It was nothing. It was nothing like the original ones.
You haven't seen?
You haven't seen the last one?
8 episode 8. I haven't seen it.
No.
I got around to, man. You went without me, so what's else I go with?
Well, it's not. But the idea is when 7 came out, everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's exactly like New Hope," or like
it's a
and then 8 came out, and it's completely different.
It's not what we expected.
It's not what we expected, and it's kind of like, but you hated what you expected. We're trying to give you something more, something extra, and it's kind of like, so it's like you're in a no-win situation, you know. So it's kind of like, who are we trying to please? Are we trying to please the nostalgic people?
Yeah.
Or are we trying to please the new people that we want to come to the theater?
Like,
you know? So and it's for me, I think it's the new people.
Star Wars 8?
Because like the new people are the ones who actually like it. The new people are the ones who are excited and going back to the originals and going back to the merchandise and relearning,
information.
As opposed to the people who've come up in it. You're just getting so much negativity from them. And it's kind of like,
excited for 9?
Yeah.
Did 8 leave you excited for 9?
It did for me.
I mean, I want to see where they go because I feel like the way they ended 8 could have, like, it's a very
very open ended.
Yeah, it's just
it could go so many places, and that's why I like it because it is
I don't care.
No, there's nothing really to say.
No, I'm saying if you look at
because you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
No, it's like very like they tied it in a bow, and then what could happen the next day in that movie could literally be anything.
And I think, and that's why I liked it, because it wasn't predictable, because it wasn't pretentious in that sense, where everybody, like, after 7, I felt like, all right, we got to know Rey's backstory. We have to know this. We have to know this. And I feel like after 8, it's kind of like, what is going on? Where are they going to go with this? Like, you know, and I think I like that level of excitement of it, you know, and I like that it left it with that. So it's like, right now I am liking the new Star Wars location. Was there anything else you wanted to add about Star Wars?
No, I didn't agree on like one thing in that movie, and I can't say it.
No, I got no little bitch.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
No little bitch.
I don't care. I'm not gonna say it.
Go ahead. Go yours.
No, the scene with Leia.
Oh, which one? Where she comes back in?
Yeah. So I was like,
well, that's the thing that I felt, you know, with the Force of like I like that it showed that it just wasn't the men who have the Force in the family, and I like that they showed that she has just enough Force, but she chose not to use it the same way as them, and she chose not to let it control her the way it controlled like the rest of her family. It was completely crazy, like the way she came back and everything.
If
but
they
it was like,
said that in the narrative or something, that would have been cool. But it was just like what you just said. Like she chose not to like use it or depend on it or you know, or use it in that way. But it's like there was nothing like ever said.
Well, I got that just from context clues of just watching all the films.
Yeah.
And seeing like and knowing like she's always had
been Force sensitive.
Yes, and she's always had like great intuition about things. Like, you know, and I always felt I always knew like she had the Force like with her, but I never questioned it as like, why didn't she like try to fight with her? Because she saw herself as more than that. She saw herself as like, I could either be the fighter or I could try to be the commander of this.
The leader.
Like, you know, and I think she chose that. And then she used the Force to exude that. I feel like, you know? That's how I felt. That wasn't even from me reading anything or like, that's how watching the films I interpreted her character. Like, you know, I never saw her as less than because she didn't have the Force. I always felt like she has the Force. She just doesn't have it like that. Like, you know, she never mastered it in that direction.
I feel like it was probably the strongest display of Force power, like, that we've seen on screen. Which I was like, they kind of went 0 to 100 with her, like, in 2 seconds. That was the only thing that caught me, like, because we have Rey.
It caught me off guard, but for me, I guess the way I interpret it, because I am a new person coming into it, I understood it, especially with the way they are introducing these characters of Rey, and like, you know, how she is a lot older and how she has been able to manipulate the Force, you know, and use it. And the thing is, like, Leia has known about the Force all her life, like, you know, and just because she wasn't taught it X, Y, and Z, but look at the people who raised her. Weren't they part of that council? So it's like you have to understand, like, I don't know, looking at her character, how she was raised and what she's coming up. For me, it made sense. Like, you know, like when I saw it happen, it did blow me away. Like, oh shit! But I was like, finally, fuck yes, we got to physically see her power, the power that I knew that she had, because she had portrayed some things early on that, you know, that is kind of like, huh, that's weird. How come she never followed it to that extent? Like, you know, so
I would love some context for Leia and some for Rey, because I mean the whole thing about her parents, I feel like they're trying to throw us a curveball, but
of course,
but look at
the end of the film, the little kid who was sweeping, and I think it comes down to, and I think it's something that's been told to us multiple times, that just because you didn't have training doesn't mean you don't know how to do.
Well, right.
And I think that's, for me, and my understanding is that's the storyline that you see. Like, just like the people who were the strongest weren't people who were trained from the second they showed power. You know, it's that inner strength. It's that showing of, you know, you taking your life and your circumstances and what you've been raised and the environment that you've been raised in to really figure out how to control yourself. It's about self-control, you know, aside from like the power.
I need that in the movies. like I'll give you an example. The last scene where Rey using the Force power, when like she has that entire like landslide in the air, and I'm like, that's an insane amount of power that she's displaying. Like, give me an explanation. Is it because of the lineage? Is it because of like the kind of person she is, like a caring person that always wants to help and do the right thing? Is it that, like, what?
Yeah, that's what I think. The focus, the drive, and the circumstance.
Because it's like in all movies, and this is even including probably like the animated, the Clone Wars series that they had. That's the strongest like ever that I've ever seen.
Even the video games.
No, come on, son.
Oh yeah, I don't know. You saw fucking this guy pull a fucking spaceship out of the sky.
Yeah, you saw the really big spaceship in the last movie.
Yeah,
like, there's a guy in the video game that brought it down from space.
Yeah.
Like,
I just want this one right here.
Nah, you notice I didn't even mention it.
It was canon at one point.
He brought it down from space.
Yeah, that was dope though.
Like I was saying, like for me as a new fan, and maybe it was just because I saw all the movies collectively very close together. I think, you know, that's when you see a lot of clues a lot faster. It's kind of like, sidebar, I know, but the Game of Thrones. You know, I only got into Game of Thrones last year, right before season 7. But within a week, I binged all of them. So when season 7 came out, I was like, oh, that's reference to this, that's reference to this. Like, for me, so many things made sense. Even when I was watching season 7 the last one, I was watching season 2 or like season 3, there was so many things that, like, for me, since it was still so fresh in my mind, that I was like, oh, he said the son of this in season 1. Now I get it. But it's because I just saw season 1 2 days ago. Like, you know, so I think for me, maybe I was able to see certain things, or I could see these patterns a lot clearer because they were just so close together. You know, but that could just be me. Like I'm very intuitive, and I like to always read between the lines and try to see more. Like so I don't know what that's saying.
For what? Oh. I don't know. I need a better camera. 1 second, guys. We're gonna see if my camera is still recording.
Before it shuts off again.
Oh, it might be full of memory. Oh, really? It started recording automatically.
Oh no! When did it stop recording?
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty good conversation.
That
You
was
could have added to it. Just
No,
so you
I don't
could
know.
See it. Doesn't
I don't know,
mean
man.
you added.
I was actually entranced by what you guys are talking about. I have no idea. I never seen the movie, so I can't really put it two cents.
Well, it's gonna die again. So
Well, we should start wrapping up.
We'll just wrap up. We're not gonna talk about Anchorman because no one cares.
No one cares about it. So, our battery is dying.
Yes, unfortunately. But it was great having Susan on the show.
Hopefully,
I
I'll
don't.
come back. We'll see.
Hopefully, yes.
You guys like this show enough?
No, she's definitely coming back. We enjoyed her.
Yes,
She didn't really say what she does. She actually is an assistant director. She works on movies. You didn't say that. You should have.
I think she wants to people.
I wanted to tell people, man. She knows what she's talking about.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
I've seen the making of a few films,
Yeah,
and
so
TV
she
shows.
knows.
So, but
Obviously.
it's still
Her opinion
exciting to
matters.
see. It's still exciting to go into a new movie or TV show fresh. So
Yeah.
that's a little hard sometimes when you work in the industry. So
Mm-hmm.
it is something exciting to hear reviews and see what people are saying to get you excited to go see it. Because if it was up to me, I'd be like, oh, I just locked that up. Like, there's 5.
We need to make a list of things you have to watch and you have to watch.
Nah, I'm not gonna have enough time to watch everything you want me to watch.
God. Just
We'll try to make it happen.
Well,
But
I'll
unless,
try.
if anything, we'll try to make a list for you guys.
yes.
So you
Yes,
could
yes.
follow along.
As usual, hit the like button, subscribe, share with your friends. She's Susan,
I'm Miguel.
and I'm Zach.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for having
we're gonna
us.
go before the camera dies. So,
Basically.
cool.